Thank you for joining us tonight for the City of Frederick Mayoral and Council Candidate Forum. It is so important that as a community, we give as much voice as possible to folks who are willing to be public servants, to hear about them, but then to engage and move to action on how we can support those candidates by voting. We're pleased what should be a promise tonight to hear about all matters relating to the community. We hope that you will hear things that resonate with your voice on housing, public safety, economic development, infrastructure, education, equality, and so much more. My name is Danny Adams, and I'm the Executive Officer of the Frederick County Building Industry Association. And tonight wouldn't be possible without the additional support from Rick Weldon at the Frederick County Chamber of Commerce and Hugh Gordon at the Frederick County Association of Realtors. We always say between the three of us, our trifecta, we're in every house and business in the community, but we want to do that in a way that reflects the community and support certainly you all and in creating forums like this. Want to just also share with you, if you have a desire to ask a question, there is, over where Rick and Hugh are, there are index cards. So please feel free to take an index card. There are pens over there. If you want to bring it over and drop it in the bag, or you can hold it up and Hugh will run across the floor, whatever you need him to do to grab that, make sure we get it in. But the sooner you write your questions down, Jack will be able to look at as a moderator if we can ask it to each group. So I'm going to turn it over to him here shortly. But if you would indicate also, if you're asking that question of a particular candidate or of a group of candidates, just put that on there as well. And we won't be mentioning who asked the question. You're welcome to put your name, but it's not going to be relevant to us making sure we get it to the folks. There are other partners that made tonight possible. We want to thank the ARC of Frederick County for this wonderful space. It always is a fantastic place to return to. The Frederick News Post, we greatly appreciate your support here. They're doing their very best to record tonight. So hopefully you'll be able to have that link afterwards, and those folks who could not join us tonight be able to also listen in. WFMD Radio, we want to thank them for their support as well. And again, I'm going to turn it over to our amazing moderator. For over 5 decades, this gentleman's been a legacy in journalism, and so we're so very grateful. He has such a passion for what he does. But without further ado, we need to get started, right, Jack? So here you go. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Hi, I am Jack Murphy. I'm a retired newspaper editor, and now I'm a freelance writer. I write primarily for the News Post. As most of you know, the News Post doesn't endorse candidates, so I'm not here endorsing any candidate. I'm not backing any candidate. I am a neutral observer. Now, I've prepared a bunch of questions for the candidates, and each candidate will get the same question to begin with. Sorry. Not used to holding a microphone. I'm a print man, not a... So anyway, each candidate is going to get the same question in order, time to answer the question. We'd like you to limit your answer to 3 minutes or less, only because we have so many things we want to go through, so many candidates we want to hear from tonight. Danny has got a little sign to let you know that you're reaching the end of your allotted time. And she's got another sign telling you to stop talking. So, without further ado, why don't we get started? Yes, 3 minutes for the mayoral candidates. It'll be less time for some of the council candidates, and for unopposed council candidates, we're really trying to limit it tonight. But we want to get as full a discussion as possible going. We're going to start with Mr. O'Connor. How would you assess the business climate in the city? Is the city government welcoming and helpful, or is it difficult to work with? Will you take specific steps to make the city more attractive to business investment, create jobs, expand our tax base, and ensure our economic competitiveness? And please provide evidence to support your answer.
Thanks very much. Really appreciate the question. Thank you all for being here this evening. Yes, I think the city is a really good place to do business. I think that's demonstrated by the net 400 new businesses we've seen come to the city of Frederick over the last 8 years. Are we a good city to do business with? I think some of that is the proof of people coming to the city to open businesses. We are very forthcoming with our Office of Economic Development. One of the great things that we have built in this county is partnerships between the City Office of Economic Development, the County Office of Economic Development, our Chamber of Commerce, our Downtown Frederick Partnership, our Main Street Organization, and our Visitors Bureau. We work closely with the Building Industry Association and the Realtors as well. The goal is a Frederick that all is talking the same language to people who want to come here and do business. We have, in my time in office, rolled back the business personal property tax. That was one of the elements in the city of Frederick that made us a little less competitive compared to Frederick County. And so by removing that business personal property tax, we're now on the same par as the county. It's one less reason for someone who's got to make a very important decision about where they want to locate, and dollars make sense at every step along that process. It's one more reason for them to choose to locate inside the city of Frederick versus locating just outside of the city of Frederick. I'm very interested in continuing the conversations that I've been having with the business community over the last 6 years. When COVID hit, we knew that we had to mobilize very quickly to support particularly our downtown business community, but really businesses and restaurants all over the city of Frederick. We did a lot to help support them through that very difficult time, and that process opened up opportunities for us to sit down and have different conversations with the business community. And I've really enjoyed over the last 5 or so years, 6 years, literally visiting hundreds of businesses in this community, hearing from the employees, from the CEOs, from the people who work there, what matters to them, what's important, why they put their business here, what those businesses are looking for in employees, what those employees need in order to be able to live and work in a community. I think that's a critical element that we have to make sure that we're not just a place that people commute from, but we are rapidly becoming a place that people commute to. And one of the things we've seen is the portion of our assessable tax base that comes from non-residential uses, our business community, has grown. So to me, that's a clear indication that we have built a community that is vibrant both for residents with a high quality of life, but our business community as well.
Thank you very much, Mr. O'Connor. Mr. Trott, would you assess the business climate in the city? And do you think the city government is welcoming and helpful or difficult to work with? And do you propose specific steps to make the city more attractive to business investment, creating jobs and expanding the tax base? Please provide.
One of the reasons.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was supposed to tell everybody you have to talk on the green and shut it off when you get done talking unless you want cold mics.
I was just going to talk louder if this didn't start working. There's a lot of things that go into economic development, and one of the challenges that are facing businesses and developers when they're coming to Frederick or want to do projects is our permitting process. I find it arbitrary. I can tell you when we had the opportunity for the West Ridge Shopping Center to be redeveloped, that it was a case of just slow and more slow, and now that project probably isn't going to take place. When I look at downtown, I look at a lot of second and third story empty buildings that have never been filled, and one of the things that I want to do is get somebody from the mayor's office, somebody from District 3's councilman, along with another at-large council person, and people from code enforcement together. And what I want to do with that is have a committee that's going to figure out how to help these people figure out what they can do with the second and third floors. 8 years ago, Frederick was a lot more vibrant and had a much more robust downtown than what I'm seeing today. And that's not to ignore things going on in the Golden Mile as well. I'd like to see the interconnectivity, which we've talked about. I'd like to see real bus stops out there. Those can be partially paid with advertising. And I just want to consider all parts of the city in economic development.
Thank you. Mr. Beattie,
Thank
would
you.
you like to handle the same question, your assessment of the business climate and the steps you might want to take to make it more attractive?
Yeah, I think we can do a lot more in terms of coordinating with our planning department and our economic development department. When can you hear me? Okay, yeah. Well, I don't know if standing up with the mic is going to help, but I can use Brickworks as an example. When I was on the planning commission and I saw Brickworks first come out, one of the things that really bothered me is the fact that we had, this was the gem. Brickworks, everybody was waiting for this gateway project of Brickworks. We had very little coordination between economic development and planning, and what that does is it builds conflict into the system. So when I first looked at the project, I looked at four industrial properties that were sticking out into the property that was being developed. And I asked the developer, has anybody from economic development been talking to you to see if maybe we can relocate Verizon or something like that and actually do a really good comprehensive plan there? We also spent $30,000 studying form-based code, but we wanted to rush the Brickworks project in before form-based code actually happened. I think that's a problem, and what it does is it creates uncertainty in the business environment. On the national level, we're seeing all sorts of uncertainty with tariffs, et cetera. We have uncertainty built in here because we need to streamline our permitting process. When we come down and we look at, there have been some developers that have walked because the planning process is too stringent here. It's not only too stringent, again, we build in conflict. If you don't have economic development helping out with planning, if you don't have the community helping out with planning and actually saying what they want to see in their community, not what a developer wants to see, what we wind up doing is we don't plan, we react. And that's been a problem, I think, in the development. I think the same thing with downtown businesses. There's a lot of brown paper on downtown storefronts. I think we need to change that, and I think if we streamline things a little bit more, we can do that.
Thank you. You will note during this that I'll be rotating the order of questions. So I have you next to Mr. Beattie to answer the question, is the pace of growth in the city too fast, too slow, or about right? And is the city doing a good job of providing the infrastructure needed to support growth?
Clearly we're not, and we have great examples showing why we're not. The first example I can use is if we take a look at the hospital project that was proposed on around Worman's Mill. That project failed 7 intersections. There have been times on the Planning Commission when we've been able to take a look at 1 or 2, and maybe there's some kind of mitigating circumstance that we can change and tweak that, but we can't. So now, because of a lack of planning, we have a hospital that's been in need of expansion for a long time. I think everybody would agree with that. And people have 13-hour wait times at the hospital. So we definitely need to expand that. We have a helicopter pad on 7th Street. The new plan would have had one near 15, but it failed for 7 intersections. When I was on the Planning Commission for the last 3 years, I proposed smart traffic systems. Smart traffic systems are AI supported. They basically are the reason why 5G was invented. So your phone talks to the traffic light. And when you have 15 phones that are talking to the traffic light turns green. So you can minimize the amount of infrastructure development that you can have. But again, we didn't do planning. I don't know why in a master plan we didn't say where we wanted to expand our hospital, but there it is. So I don't know what's going to happen with that project. Another good example is the cricket stadium. I don't understand in a development process why you would rezone a property before you find out if the use is suitable to that site. but that's what we're doing. We're rezoning a property before we see if the property fits. That just doesn't make any sense.
Thank you. Mr. O'Connor, would you take the same question, please? The pace of growth, too fast, too slow, about right? Is the city doing a good job of providing the infrastructure to support the growth?
Yeah, I think the pace of growth is a double-edged sword kind of a question, because everybody who's come here from someplace else, every new business that's come to town, that's had an opportunity to expand and do what they want to do, I think they're quite happy with the pace of growth. If you live here already and you see the new thing that's coming into your neighborhood or down the street or near you, you may have a different feeling about that depending on what you see that new use doing on behalf of your community. So for me, it's in the eye of the beholder. What's critically important is that we have a comprehensive plan, and that we allow the comprehensive plan and the planning process to drive much of that conversation. When someone comes forward with a proposal to do something, we compare that proposal to the land use map and to the comprehensive plan. Is it consistent with the way we've said we want to grow as a community? And remember that a comp plan is a publicly adopted document that comes at the end of a pretty long and robust public process. And so it is the best reflection that we have as a community, taken at a point in time, about who we are and what we think we want to be. So the most important thing we can do when those new projects come forward is honestly evaluate them next to what our comp plan says. What is the land use that they're proposing, and is the map consistent with that use? When the specific plan comes forward, that's when the process has to kick in its own way. One of the things that we've implemented since I've been mayor is an online automated permitting process. And I can tell you that if you ask the people in this room and outside of this room who've had a chance to go through our online permitting process versus those who worked with our old paper process, they will tell you it is night and day in working through our online permitting process, that it has gotten so much cleaner and faster. It allows for concurrent reviews by different departments. It's a digital process. All of that makes the process smoother and allows for growth to occur in a way, again, matched to our comp plan. At the site plan process, it's the opportunity to evaluate all of those utilities, all of those public services, all of those infrastructure demands that any new development is going to provide. No project moves forward if it hasn't met that test, and if our planning commission hasn't had an opportunity to review it and sign off on it.
Mr. Mayor, could I ask you one follow-up to that question? One of the things that Mr. Beattie talked about were two projects, the so-called hospital project, but it's really a residential/hospital project, and the stadium for the cricket.
Well, it's primarily a hospital project. It is on land that is zoned MU1, and based on the city's own code, the hospital as a part of that project has to provide some kind of a residential component, because that's one of the requirements under the MU zoning. I think if the hospital had its preference, they wouldn't develop housing. They're not in the housing business. I think they want to be in the healthcare business, and what they've proposed for that campus is really an opportunity to bring and consolidate services to augment what they're doing in their main 7th Street location. It is, in some respects, a perfect example of the process working the way it's supposed to. They presented something according to the master plan, and the master plan hit these triggers on the map. One of the most significant triggers on the map is the intersection of Monocacy Boulevard and Route 26, a project that has been in the city's Consolidated Transportation Priority Program for more than a decade. We have been asking for improvements. It's a state road. We've been asking for support and improvements to that road for decades. And that's one of the primary pinch points that this project is running into. I'm under time.
Thank you. Before we go on to you, Mr. Trott, I just want to remind everybody up there, I've been told, these are directional mics, and the closer you get to your mouth, the better the people in the audience will hear you. Turn on the mic to green, kind of point it at yourself.
I address a couple of things there.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
But not long, a minute.
Okay, absolutely. When it comes to the comprehensive plan, only 15% of the comprehensive plan has been implemented. One of the best things that this mayor did was the comprehensive plan of 2020. But what's required after that is turn to Chapter 13 and implement it. And that hasn't been done. The comp plan, by the way, when it comes to the cricket stadium, which kind of was avoided in the answer there, when it comes to the cricket stadium, that the comprehensive plan does not call for that property to be institutional zone. That's the proposal that's on the table today, and that's being rushed through with unprecedented speed.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to reply? 30 seconds.
The institutional zone is a floating zone. It can be pulled down by any landowner anywhere in the city of Frederick on any property to do something that they want to do. And so no, institutional zoning is not part of the comp plan. I think there's been some data that's been put out that that project is not moved any faster than a number of other projects that have also moved through the process. It is an active quasi-judicial case at this moment, so the less anyone in office or running for office says about it, the better.
That you don't have a vote on. So it's not quasi-judicial.
Time for Mr. Trott. Mr. Trott, we're going to involve you in the conversation now, starting with the same basic place, the pace of growth, and the need for infrastructure. Do you have what you'd like to say about that?
I'd like to address a couple things that both of my opponents have brought up. First of all, our online permitting system is not working that well. I developed several properties in the city, and frankly, everything takes a ridiculous amount of time. You get one person telling you to do something, and then the inspector tells you to do something else, and you end up having to reclose roadways and do a lot of extra work that shouldn't be there. There's a senior housing project that went in at Mount Olivet that's now deficient in parking because we decided that we didn't need to follow our guidelines, and now that's created its own issues. There are a lot of good spots for development, and I bring up near the airport or Monocacy Boulevard, but the development needs to be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and the ability to provide the services, such as the water supply, sewer, parking, and other infrastructure. And we're just not doing that now. I look at the two projects that are going up, the one on South Street and the one on Patrick, where the bowling alley is. I mean, where are these people going to park their cars? How are we going to get through that area? And we're just creating more trouble for ourselves if we're not going to follow the rules for everybody.
Thank you. Mr. Trott, you're first up on this question. Is the city doing enough to address blight in the downtown and in other older neighborhoods? Please provide evidence of your answer. And this is something I know you touched on before.
So there are a lot of blighted properties in downtown Frederick. There's certainly more in the last few years. I never would imagine between Church and 2nd Street on the west side that we'd have as many boarded up properties. Now, I don't want to blame the current mayor for that because there were some fires and other circumstances, but there are things we need to do to get these people through the permitting processes quicker and get these properties back online. If there's issues with insurance, we need to try to address it. And all of those type of issues are just further contributing to blight. We certainly have had that one landlord that we talk about that we're hopefully taking over that one property, but she has 3 other properties up on the east side of Market Street as well. And so I think we're just piecemealing this, and we need to figure out a way to make these property owners that are having blighted properties and vacant properties pay more, or figure out a way to get them back online so we can get that vibrant downtown that I want to be working in again. When I look out on the Golden Mile and other places, it seems like we have fairly good turnover. They're a big economic engine out there, and we're largely ignoring it. So I'd like to see more things all over the city, but obviously the older the part, the more blight you're probably going to be seeing. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, would you like to reply?
So I don't think anybody likes to see vacant buildings. To me, that is underperforming real estate, and it's not what we want, but I can tell you that the vacancy rate in downtown Frederick is lower than the vacancy rate in the city as a whole, which is lower than the vacancy rate in the county, which is lower than the vacancy rate in the state, which is lower than the vacancy rate at a national level. So no, it's not where we want it to be, but on balance, it's doing better than almost anybody else that we could compare ourselves to from a peer perspective. I think it's also important to note that just because a property is empty and non-producing does not make it blighted. What we have done in my time in office is we've said that if a property is habitually vacant for more than 4 years, past the normal cycle, that we're going to use additional tools to attempt to bring a property like that back into productivity. That is what we are doing right now with the most notorious vacant property in downtown Frederick. We have that property owner in court. We are due in court in less than a month, where a judge will, I expect, rule in our favor that we can use the receivership ordinance that we passed in the city of Frederick to give us a tool to be able to take a property that is underperforming, and move it into the hands of someone who will put it back on the market and make it performing. It's been addressed that that block between Church and Second has experienced some really unfortunate situations. 2 fires and the untimely death of a long-time downtown institution. No one could have predicted that, and no one could have predicted that his family was not interested in being in the restaurant business when he unfortunately passed away. Those properties are being actively marketed right now. We know that downtown Frederick is a great place to do business because we do not see vacant storefronts, with a few exceptions from notorious landlords, stay vacant for very long. So we're going to use the tools that we have, our vacant property registry, our blighted and vacant property ordinance, and receivership as a tool to move properties that are in commercial but not productive into productivity.
Thank you. Mr. Beattie? Oh, you want to come back, Mr. Trott?
just
1 minute now.
Thank you. I just want to ask the question. We've got that landlord in court. There's another property that she's had that's probably only been vacant 7 or 8 years now. Why didn't we go after all of them at once, or both of them at once, if we've got the 4-year time frame to use? We're piecemealing this and pushing another problem down the road, because I know she's not going to do anything with that building until she's forced to, or we're in this same situation.
Mr. O'Connor, would you like to?
Every property is a unique opportunity. And in terms of how we looked at receivership, we made the conscious decision that we needed to test our ordinance, which we had never done. And we needed to give it the best test we possibly could. I can tell you that if we are successful on that test, look out.
Mr. Beattie, it's your turn to discuss the blight in the city and the efforts to fight against it.
Yeah, and blight in the city is we have this tendency to focus on downtown. Tom brought up the Golden Mile. I think the Golden Mile is an important point. The Golden Mile with a blighted mall, and I'm not exactly sure what the blighted property law says. I believe it's specific to downtown. I don't know why that wasn't included in there, because if you look at that property right now, it's the Wild West out there. In the back, they have commercial driving training going on. They have, and there are sewer drains that go right into the creek right there. There are transmission housings that are being dropped, and all the transmission fluid is going into the creek that leads into Carroll Creek. So blighted properties are not just in downtown. The way we're handling the blighted property seems to me a little bit, I understand we have to have a test case, but that law, if I'm not mistaken, was passed close to 5 years ago when we finally got it. And we implemented, yes, with one, and we tested it. So now 3 years, or really 5 years later, we're gonna see if the test works. But the other properties that are blighted are still sitting vacant. Why can't we do 2 things at one time, or more than that at one time? I don't understand that. I think we have a pretty good legal department in the city, and we can start fighting those things and use those buildings. Some of those buildings that can be used for affordable housing. So let's be a little bit creative, and let's see what else we can do with these buildings and turn it around.
Thank you, Mr. Beattie. Mr. O'Connor, is it true that the law on receivership is only aimed at downtown?
It is not only aimed at downtown, and to be habitually vacant, a property has to be vacant for 4 years. And when we passed that, we were told it was in our best interest to not look backwards and try and capture what we knew was 16 or 20 years of vacancy, but to move forward from legal reasons. I'm out of fairness to the other candidates up here, I feel like I'm getting a chance to answer every question multiple times, and maybe that's just the breaks of being the incumbent, but I'll participate however you ask me to.
Thank you. I'm steering the conversation back to you because you are the incumbent. Okay. Mr. Beattie, would you please describe 3 new initiatives you plan to implement during your term that will benefit the business community in the city? Do you support, for instance, purchasing preferences for businesses in the city or even in the county?
When I first saw that question, I absolutely loved it. I most certainly do. When it comes to doing business in Frederick, I think if your business is in Frederick, then you should have some preference. I'm a little curious as to my 2-term incumbent opponent, when he had a chance to, by the way, he loves to say that he's a lifelong resident of Frederick. I'm not. I don't apologize for it. I think I might bring some things to the table for that. But if you're a lifelong member or resident of Frederick, and you have an opportunity to rebrand your city, why would you hire a firm from Jacksonville, Florida to do that? I don't understand that, because we know how that turned out. It was $30,000, something that nobody in Frederick could relate to. So I think there's something to rewarding contracts to the city of Frederick, and in that order. I think when we process purchase orders and RFPs, we should look at city weighted values, county weighted values, and state weighted values.
Thank you. Mr. O'Connor, I assume you'd like to answer some of those challenges.
Bringing up the great logo controversy, we are really digging into the trenches, I think, to find some things. That was $45,000. The vast majority of that funding was spent to help us do really important things in terms of our brand and our message. About $5,000 of it was the logo, which we discarded. We actually do have a local preference purchasing preference in the city of Frederick. It's in the city's purchasing policies, available on the city's website. Anybody can read those. If you are a Frederick City business, you can get a credit on your bid or your quote of up to $100,000 value, up to 10% of the value of the contract. So you can sort of do the math on that to figure out like what kind of contracts are best going to be able to take advantage of that. But that gives a Frederick City company on a bid or a quote a real opportunity to have maybe a slightly higher bid be the accepted bid because it meets those requirements. We have made enormous strides over the last 4+ years in opening up the city's purchasing process to more small women and minority-owned businesses. And we've expanded the amount of money from city spend that's flown into those kinds of businesses over that time.
Thank you. Mr. Trott, let's get you involved in the conversation now.
Well, thank you. I thought I was just a pretty face in between these two. Businesses located within the city and the county should be given purchasing preferences when awarding contracts, as long as these preferences are in the best interest of the taxpayers of the city of Frederick. I've already gotten into some of my 3 things, so at the risk of being redundant, we need a police presence on the Carroll Creek Linear Park. I live there, and the only times I really see it is when we're getting coffee in the morning and I'm walking to my office, and that's not exactly on the creek. We used to have police officers that were on bikes or they were on Segways, and you just had more of a presence down there. And we do have a vagrancy problem there, so hopefully that'll help that. I want to turn the Silver Mile golden again, and that was with some of the things that I talked about earlier, as well as adding public arts projects, and finally getting the West Side Regional Park going. Just promoting the interconnectivity is going to save on traffic, but it's time we stop ignoring this area. I think we've all met probably with the same residents that have been really concerned out in Stonegate as well, as some of the things that are going on there. And then I want to strive for predictability and consistency in the plan review process for building permits and development review with regard to both the scopes of these projects and also the turnaround times. The city has good personnel in these areas, but the mayor's office needs to better support these offices to make it a priority, returning the focus of city government back to core traditional local government issues, which will prioritize the needs of city businesses and city residences.
Thank you. Mr. O'Connor, the perception is that people and families are being priced out of Frederick because of a lack of affordable housing. Please explain your thoughts and plans for dealing with the issue, and if you agree or disagree with that common perception.
Yeah, affordable housing is not a problem just in the city of Frederick. It's a problem everywhere. And it's something that we're going to have to be diligent and creative in trying to address, because we're working both with the markets that we can control within our own community, but also global markets that we don't control. We don't control interest rates, for example. And that's been a big driver of the cost of buying a home. Just a couple of percentage points change in interest rates are hundreds of dollars. Hundreds of dollars on, you know, a mortgage of $400,000 or $500,000. So we've got to look at what we can do from a policy perspective in the city of Frederick. That's our moderately priced dwelling unit ordinance. It's what we're doing with rental licensing and the revenues that are derived from that to support helping individuals that may be adversely impacted by a rental licensing program. People love it when their properties appreciate in value when it comes time to sell. They don't love it so much when it's time to pay the tax bill. And we are overly reliant on property taxes as a function of the way state law is written. So I spent the last year, ending in June, as the president of the Maryland Municipal League, a statewide municipal association representing 161 municipal local governments across the state of Maryland. It was a fantastic opportunity to represent the city of Frederick across the state and to share our story with communities everywhere. This issue of our limited revenue capacity at the local level is a critical one. And we would love to be able to have a different conversation with the state about how we could expand our ability to generate revenue, largely beyond property taxes, which is the bulk of it, and a little piece of the income tax, which is probably the second piece. We get nothing from sales tax, not because we don't want it, but because the state will not share sales tax revenue at the local level. And my pledge is that if we could expand our tax base in terms of revenue options for the city of Frederick, we could lower the property tax rate even more than what was done in the most recent budget, because we could backfill those services that we need to provide, critical services to provide to our residents, with revenue sources that aren't quite so dependent on someone owning a piece of property and being the primary carrier of the freight on service delivery in the city of Frederick. So it is a challenge that we have to undertake because we don't want particularly long-time residents, and I'm proud of my Frederick heritage. But I'm equally happy that people have come here from all over because they've seen Frederick as a great place to live.
Thank you. Mr. Beattie, would you deal with the same question, please, about the perception of people being priced out of Frederick?
There's a reason why the vast majority of developers who came before me when I was on the Planning Commission, there's a reason why the vast majority of them pay a fee in lieu. That means it doesn't
Would you
make
explain
sense.
that, please, for those
A
who may
fee
not?
in lieu for moderately priced dwelling units. So the way it works is if a developer has a proposal for a residential development, they are required to build 12.5% of that property as moderately priced. If they prefer not to, they pay a fee in lieu. And it's varied in terms of, it used to be on a per unit basis, now it's on a per square foot basis. But the fact of the matter is, the money that's collected is not going to build any moderately priced housing. We've used it finally This is a thing about Frederick not connecting the dots. We had the comprehensive plan of 2020, great. Called for fees in lieu, great. We collected them for 5 years. We collected $6 million over 5 years. And then it was discovered we didn't have a clue what to do with the money. And those fees in lieu are not just for moderately priced housing units. It's for schools. The school formula is absolutely ridiculous. There is no way, so the rule is, if you're going to build residential housing in an area where the schools are overcrowded, you pay a fee in lieu for that. That fee in lieu is not going to build a school, and it's certainly not going to build a school tomorrow. And a school isn't considered overcrowded until it gets to 125%. 125%, and that's when it's considered overcrowded. By the time you try to do something with the county, and we have this tendency to say, schools is a county problem, not us, we can do better than that.
Are you arguing against the use of the fee in lieu of construction?
I'm saying that there has to be an alternative to fees in lieu. Now, one of the alternatives, I understand and I congratulate my opponent on getting the progressive endorsement. I think part of the progressive endorsement was supporting rent stabilization. That is not something that I'm prepared to support. I'd like to hear what the mayor's plan is for rent stabilization, because that was clearly a litmus test on the progressive questionnaire.
Mr. Mayor, would you take 30 seconds to talk about rent stabilization and fee in lieu?
My answer to
Got to turn it on. I'm pointing.
My answer to the Frederick Progressives questionnaire is available on the Frederick Progressives website, so you can actually read the exact words that I used. Nowhere did I say I will support rent stabilization. I think the housing crisis is critical enough, and we've identified a 96,000 shortage in the state of Maryland, that we have to explore every option to determine which ones are the best ones for Frederick and which ones are viable. I will never turn down having a conversation about anything that can help us to solve a problem in our community.
Thank you. Mr. Trott,
Could you
like to-
restate the question, Jack?
I'm sorry?
Just so, I want you to restate the question so everybody
right.
out here remembers what
The
we were originally
perception is that people and families are being priced out in Frederick because of a lack of affordable housing. Please explain your thoughts and plans for dealing with this issue.
It's not a perception, it's a fact. I'm in the mortgage business, and when I'm pre-approving a client, I give them a price for a house that they can afford in Frederick City. I give them a price for a house they can afford in Frederick County. And if those are too high, then we're going to look at Washington County, or we're going to go to West Virginia, where property taxes are a ton lower. The difference between somebody qualifying in Frederick City with the tax rate at 1.7% as opposed to in the county at 1.7% in the city and 1% in the county is huge. I mean, it could be a $50,000 swing in what they're qualified for. I think, while well-intended, our recent attempt to get all the properties registered is a case of a swing and a miss. Now we have landlords paying fees every 2 years for inspections, and I don't know after that if there's really any money left over to help with affordable housing or not. I suspect there won't be when somebody actually looks at those numbers. The additional burden certainly isn't going to be helping out anybody get into rental properties or investors buy other properties. We're supposed to be looking at multifamily housing, and in order to register a property, you have to have separate addresses on the city website. So unless you figure out a way to get through that system, it's just not working, the whole registration part. If it's a single family home, it's fine, but when it's multifamily or multi-units, it just doesn't work. And I've heard that from multiple landlords in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Trott, I'm going to start with you on the last prepared question we have. We have more questions that are here from the audience, which I will get to, but the last prepared question is, could you please explain what in your professional background uniquely qualifies you to lead Maryland's second largest municipal corporation as Chief Executive Officer?
To be blunt, because every day of my working life and professional career, I've had to live in the real world. I've been in the mortgage lending and finance business for all of my career. My daily decisions are subject to the scrutiny of my clients and the boards and committees of lending institutions. I have to be flexible and innovative to be successful. I have to work within established private and regulatory guidelines, but be able to think outside the box in order to continue working in my career and actually getting more business. I've been a director of a local bank and developed property and owned businesses in both Frederick City and Frederick County. My work in the private sector and my nonprofit experience uniquely qualifies me for the role as mayor of the city of Frederick.
Thank you. Mr. Beattie, will you take the same question? What in your professional background uniquely qualifies you to lead Maryland's second largest city?
Well, first of all, one thing that I think is the most outstanding qualification I have to stand before you is I've never run for office before. I'm not an elected. I'm not a full-time elected official. And I've been a CEO. I ran my own technology company for 12 years. I have 40 plus years in organizational management in corporations such as Citicorp, Shearson Lehman Brothers, where I was a vice president. Where's Rick Weldon? For 20 years, I was president of a chamber of commerce. He told me I should lead with that all the time. I don't know why. For 10 years, I ran a major county-owned museum and planetarium. I co-chaired the New York Rising for building resiliency after Superstorm Sandy. My community, where I was president of the Chamber of Commerce on Long Island, got hit really hard by Hurricane Sandy. We had a $3 million budget for resiliency. I single-handedly earned $3 million extra dollars in bonus funds for creative financing. And I think I'm ready with those qualifications. But one thing I will do as CEO is I'm going to cut the communication budget in the city of Frederick, which grew from $324,000 in 2022 to $800,000 today. I think we need to spend that money more on doing things for the city of Frederick than talking about it.
Thank you, Mr. Beattie. Mr. O'Connor, could you take the same question, please? Do you want to hear it again? Please explain what in your professional background uniquely qualifies you to lead Maryland's second largest city.
I don't want this to come across as extraordinarily flip, but I've been doing the job for the last 8 years. And I think, and this is the part of this process that I really don't enjoy that much, I actually think I've done a damn good job. I think the city is in a much better place today than it was 8 years ago, and I have a long record of accomplishment that I am proud of, that I'm proud to run on. I'm proud of the people that I've served with. I've not agreed with all of them on everything, but I've never not worked with people who I didn't believe, honestly, wanted to do the best thing that they could to make this the community the best possible place that it could be. That 8 years of experience is unmatchable. And you may not agree with everything that I've done, but as I said before, I will take every conversation. I will have every discussion. And I will keep an open mind in areas where I may in fact be agnostic on what the right answer to that problem is. Prior to being in elective office, I spent 10 years managing a nonprofit, which is stewardship at the highest level. I spent 20 years in media, spending virtually every one of those days covering city and county government, city and county politics. I've learned a lot about what it takes to lead a community like this. I'm proud that we have a new police headquarters that we put in downtown Frederick specifically to ensure that we don't lose a downtown police presence. I'm proud that we've made partnerships with the county and the state to bring funding to bring affiliated minor league baseball back to the city of Frederick, to move forward on a youth center, a community center at Westside Regional Park, a youth center on Jefferson Street. I have a record of accomplishment. You can find it over there on the sheet. Vote for me. If you think the city is in a good place, I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Now we have some questions that have been submitted by members of the audience. I think these are fairly simple questions, so I'd like to limit your answers to a minute and a half or so, if that works for you. The first one is, what is the long-term plan for the Community Action Agency, including locations, services, and outcomes for clients? Mr. Mayor, you're more likely to be conversant to this, I think. But.
That's that experience thing working for me again, I guess. Our Department of Housing and Human Services, which is located at 100 South Market Street, but also operates a food bank next door at 14 East All Saints Street, and a satellite food bank out at the former Trinity School site south of Harry Grove Stadium, is the core deliverer of housing and human services support for the residents in our community who are most in need. In a community where we are really fortunate, I think, to have a high level of prosperity, not everyone in our community is prosperous. And we need an agency like the Department of Housing and Human Services to make sure that the unmet need for those in our community is dealt with every single day. And for me, the most important thing is that we not place that service in an area that seems like it's good for the people who are okay, but very difficult for the people who need to get the services to get to them. And so it needs to be accessible. It should be adjacent to other services. It should be on the bus line. We're not consolidating activities there. We're operating federally qualified health centers in other parts of the city at Hillcrest. It's important that our human services are delivered in virtually every neighborhood in the city of Frederick, because virtually every neighborhood in the city has people who need those services.
Thank you. Mr. Trott, the same question. What is the long-term plan for the Community Action Agency, including location, services, and outcomes?
Well, I think the location, as Michael's pointed out, is probably the best location that's around people, that are most in need, and having it out on the Golden Mile as well is great. I don't have any further things to add on that particular question.
Mr. Beattie, would you like to take the same question?
Yeah, what it doesn't need to be is downtown. The reason why you have more homeless downtown is because you have the services being offered there. I think, first of all, from an organizational management point of view, I think having 3 directors in the past 5 years shows there's something wrong with the management there. I don't know what programs they offer. I think people would be hard pressed to find out. Is there a graduation from bringing people out of poverty or the or addictiveness or whatever situation they're in? But the 100 block of downtown of South Market is not the place to do that, because the temptations are there for the people who are addicted. We need to provide a place, yes, along transit lines, where people can get to the services, but we need to provide more effective services to bring people out of poverty. And I would redevelop the 100 block of South Market and pay for that change with that.
Do you have any inclination on where you'd like to see that?
2 places occurred to me most. One is the Trinity Center, which I think is being used by HHS for some functions. And I think there's an opportunity along Jefferson Street where Marvin Osherman is planning a youth center. I think there are opportunities there where we can create I'd almost say like a university to bring people. The major point is to bring people to a place with their own key.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
We're enormously grateful for Marvin Osherman's support in getting a youth center established, but that will be a Frederick City Youth Center being operated in that building on Scotty's Bus Lane. We have worked with our state partners and federal partners to get federal and state funding into that project. It's going to be a critical add for the young people in our community. As has been acknowledged, we do operate some of our human services out at the Trinity School campus, but we have historic partners in this work. The Rescue Mission. I'm blanking on the Religious Coalition's new name.
Okay.
But we cannot ignore that there are existing human services and that the people who need those services, we have to do what we can to lift them out of poverty, but not punish them during that process.
Thank you. I have another question from the audience. The cricket stadium seems to have no upside for city residents. Your thoughts on that? Mr. Trott?
Well, that's certainly not a leading question at all. I don't know how we have a 25,000 seat stadium built on that particular property. I haven't really reviewed the plans, but I just don't think it's feasible. I don't think there's the infrastructure certainly, I don't see it being there. I'll be open as mayor to reviewing plans and things, but you need to have more bridges, and I think we would end up creating something similar to the PG Center where FedEx Field is, and just gridlock all down 70, Spring Ridge, and all through the city. They've got to find another place that could go other than that property.
Thank you. Mr. Beattie?
I finally get a chance to say sticky wicket again. And by the way, Frederick News Post used that in their paper, but I coined the phrase when it came to this cricket stadium when it came up before the Planning Commission. But it's a kludgy monster idea of a project, and especially in that location. I would love to have a cricket stadium in Frederick. The mayor is not the only sports guy in the room. I love sports just as much as anybody else. I kind of wonder why we lost our affiliation with Baltimore to begin with, but we got it back again. That's great news. Love to see it. But when it comes to the cricket stadium, that whole parking thing, everything that you talk about, if you talk about the number of buses, if you talk about the industrial property that's being built on the other side of 70 near the airport, the dirt is flying there. You're going to have more 18-wheelers going by there. There's just nothing in the cricket stadium that makes sense there. By the way, it was discussed to put it on the west side, near the West Side Regional Park, which, by the way, started in 2009, and we only put it out to bid for design a few months ago. I think there's a problem with what our priorities are in this town, and by the way, that is fast-tracked. There is no way that you can tell me it went from the Planning Commission to the City Council in 3 days, and that's not fast-tracked. Nothing else has been that fast.
Thank you. Mr. O'Connor?
The city lost its minor league baseball affiliation because Major League Baseball made a decision about the facilities that they wanted their minor league teams to play in, and Harry Grove Stadium didn't match up. And so what we did was we worked with our partners at the state, and we secured $40 million, thanks to our legislature getting the Maryland Stadium Authority to have that authority, to put $40 million improvements into that stadium, proof of concept. Major League Baseball is putting minor league baseball back in the city of Frederick. I'm a big believer in Frederick being what I call a full-service town. We have an airport, we have a golf course, we have minor league baseball, we have minor league basketball, we have a great and vibrant downtown, we have growing diversity, wonderful neighborhoods, great places to eat, craft beverage establishments, craft breweries. Someone wants to come to the town and do something, we put them through the process, and the public process is going to take its course. Despite what Mr. Beattie says, it is quasi-judicial. While I do not have a vote, I do have a veto. And that means that I have a role in the process. And for me to talk for or against a project like this, at this point, would be inappropriate.
Thank you.
You had a veto on the budget, and you talked all through the community about how you were going to exercise it. So that was your veto vote. But you talked about it.
And I did, because I didn't like what was in that budget. And I will exercise my veto when it's appropriate to do so. But I will not.
So talk about the cricket stadium.
I will not go on record today on a project that is quasi-judicial. It would be inappropriate.
You're already on record at the
unethical.
Economic Development Forum. You're on record
I'm an ethical
supporting
person.
the
I'm an ethical
Gentlemen, we want to keep going. Thank you. A question again from the audience. Why has the city not updated its traffic study impact guidelines since 2011? Mr. Beattie?
Great question. A lot of people here in the room are very concerned about traffic and pedestrian safety. The fact is, there was a letter that was written that is questioning why we have an antiquated traffic plan from 2011. I don't know what the answer is. I do know that one of my answers, one of my solutions that I proposed a while back is smart traffic systems. I think we can do a better job with pedestrian safety. People getting killed on the Golden Mile because we don't have a pedestrian bridge over Route 40. I don't know what's our time frame. How many deaths do we have to have until we do something like that? A poor person was killed in a wheelchair hit by a garbage truck on the Golden Mile. We can do better than that. We need to do better than that.
Mr. Trott.
The traffic study isn't being done because it's going to make the current administration and what's happened in this city the last 10 years really look bad. I mean, we're all seeing it. Anybody who drives around this town knows that our traffic infrastructure is way behind. I hope at some point we can slow development so that we can maybe let things catch up. The smart traffic that Mr. Beattie's been talking about is certainly something of interest.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor.
The city operates with a lot of plans: the comp plan, a strategic plan, traffic plan. We have a bicycle, Let's Move Frederick. It's a master bicycle and pedestrian plan that's out for comment now. We've adopted a complete streets policy. There's a lot of pieces in the development review process that have to be evaluated and analyzed for projects to move forward. If this project hasn't moved forward at the pace that everyone thinks that it should, that's certainly something that we can look at, but that plan specifically is not the plan that's going to drive better traffic in the city of Frederick. It's much more comprehensive than that.
Thank you. We're running out of time. I have one last question I would like to ask because it's something that didn't occur to me. I'm old. I am turning 18. This is not me. This is the question. And this will be my first election. I am concerned that many of the representatives at all levels of government are beyond retirement age. I want our leaders to have access to the wisdom of our elders, but represent the broader city. How will you as candidates represent the next generation? Who's oldest? I don't know.
So I do know that I'm the youngest. Now that might not be terribly reassuring to the person who is asking that question, but I will tell you that I think it's a critical question, because I think we have a community that in order for it to work, it has to work for everyone. And I don't think that just because someone is older means they cannot understand and appreciate what young people are dealing with, just as I don't think that someone who is younger who is running doesn't have the experience to be able to represent older residents. We need everyone's voice in the process. And we're committed, and have been, to make sure that as we look at what we're doing in the city of Frederick, that we're trying to attract and listen to as many voices as we possibly can.
Thank you. Mr. Trott.
Well, I guess I'm older than Mike, although I'm not willing to admit that yet. I'm going to look at his driver's license in a minute. We have a duty for all of our citizens, whether they're voting or not voting, which obviously in the last few elections most of them haven't. We need to be reaching out to people. I really am proud of some of the accomplishments that the city's had over the last few months, really, particularly with the baseball coming back. And I'm very excited, but the town's at an inflection point, and it's time for us to be stepping up and figuring out what the next generation is going to look like and what they want their community to look like. I know we need to do things better. We need to make transportation a number one priority, as we've created a city that is all gridlock and only trajecting towards worse. So I'd like to meet this young man or woman and really talk to them in person. But
thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Beattie.
I'll say it, I'm 65. Anybody? Any bidders here? A little younger than you? Okay, so he's the oldest. All right. No, okay. But here's the thing. A year ago is when I really started to get disillusioned with how the city was being run. And a year ago, I started out on a speaking tour around the town. And the main emphasis for me was to find a candidate younger and probably less male. That's where I thought our society was. I wanted to see someone younger, and I couldn't find anybody to step up. In fact, some of the people I spoke to might even be in the room today. I didn't think an old white guy should be mayor. And then the worst thing happened to us. Donald Trump got reelected. Donald Trump, and I figured if he could do it, I could do it. But the fact of the matter is, I acknowledge that, and in every thought process that I have when it comes to the city, I like to think of everybody that's in the spectrum, from the youngest to the oldest, and doing things for schools, and doing things for jobs, and doing things for fun for people in this town. And I really appreciate that question.
Thank you all very much. I think that concludes our event. One second per minute.
We have time if you want to do a closing for 2 minutes each. Say whatever you want to say to share with the community. We'll let you decide an additional point you want to make, but we'll do 2 minutes each if we may. Tom, you want to start? Okay.
So my roots in Frederick run deep. I love my hometown and want to make it better. We're certainly at an inflection point, and we've hit on some of the issues. I've been on the board of a nonprofit that is the largest child care provider in Frederick County for almost 10 years now, and that is the Frederick County YMCA. I've gotten to work in businesses, and I've been able to prosper in Frederick thanks to all of you and everybody in town and a wonderful city and county. But there's a lot more that we need to do. We need to really be focused on our infrastructure, and we need to be improving things. My motto is One Frederick, because I don't like the fact that the charter has split us up into 5 groups. I really wish it was 3. And that way there'd be the same number in the city council, 2 at large and 1 in each of those districts, rather than dividing up the city downtown area and western and northern. I don't have any plans to change the charter. I'll work with but I think it would have been a much more effective way to do it and to save money for the citizens of Frederick. I'll be a steward of the taxpayer, and you can all count on that. I'm Tom Trott, One Frederick. Thank you.
Thank you. As I mentioned before, I'm not a career politician. I came to Frederick 15 years ago, fell in love with the place. My wife of 43 years out in the back, she got a job down here at, she's the chief pilot at AOPA. I'm very proud of saying. And when she got the interview, I happened to be on a business trip kind of in the area, and she asked me to check out Frederick to see if I'd like it. And I went to Frederick, I went to the courtyard, and I said, this place, strip center, is this is not for me. And I asked downtown, I said, is there a downtown? I went there, we fell in love. I called her up and I said, get that job, we're moving here. And we never looked back, we love the place. Frederick is at an inflection point. Not to agree with the Republican, I'm gonna ruin my Democratic bona fides. The city charter is probably the most refreshing thing that I've seen in city government in a long time. And thanks to Tom Lynch over there, who chaired that committee. The city council, my first day in office, what I'm going to do is set up an offsite with the city council so that we can figure out how we can work together to bring Frederick to the future that Frederick deserves. Frederick is a special place, but it takes work to keep it special. I'm willing to roll up my sleeves, do the work, and do the things that are best for the people of Frederick and the city of Frederick for the future that it does deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Israel. Thank you, Ron. Mr. Mayor?
Growing up in Frederick, I could never have imagined the opportunities that ultimately presented to myself as I got older. Our downtown didn't look then the way it looks now. We didn't have minor league baseball when I was growing up in downtown Frederick. We didn't have a vibrant downtown. We didn't have a vibrant Golden Mile in the way that we do right now. This community has changed me in many ways, and all of those ways have been for the better. So I am from here, but I have embraced all of the wonderful things that have happened in this community because we have invited and welcomed people from all over the world to be a part of this community. And I had wonderful opportunities growing up here. I met my beautiful wife here. We raised 2 beautiful daughters here. I want every family to have the opportunities that I have. And I know that it's achievable because when we work together, when we ask the right questions, when we do the research into what it is that we want to do, we're not always going to agree. But we will come to a consensus and we will move this community forward because that's what we have always done. We are always at an inflection point. Every point is an opportunity. Every point. We have to embrace those challenges. The best is yet to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.